The world is a really messed up place. I'm sure that you're aware of that. But why is the world so messed up, and why is it that you're so messed up? I would break it down to the simple fact that any form of life wants to save on time and energy, and particularly with human beings, we will rationalize and be delusional about what it means to save time and energy. As a result of this strange aspect of human nature, our beliefs will even mold and sort of misform in these weird patterns to rationalize saving time and energy. If you're a smart person and you believe in yourself, you'll have one set of beliefs. If you're somebody who's more low functioning and you don't believe in yourself, you'll have a different set of beliefs. Why is it that some people think it makes sense to go work on themselves and other people think it makes sense to snort glue to get high from the fumes of some weird bottle that they're sniffing? Why? And when you think about it, human nature is so strange because there's people that crush it in life and there's people that just do so poorly. What's going on? Is it a genetic thing? No. It's a software thing. It's what's going on in the mind. It's the cultural programming, the social programming, your upbringing, and certain events that will happen to you over the course of your life that you don't even understand. You're sitting here right now thinking, I'm a person. Here's what I think. You know what my opinion is? This is how I think it should be done. Not realizing that a lot of this is just happenstance. Have you ever taken proactive control of your belief system? Have you ever really audited your beliefs? Have you ever had somebody come in and get under the hood and look at what's going on so that you can change and operate at your highest level? In this video, what we're gonna do is go deep on why society is so messed up, why you're so messed up, and what it would take to shift that around to where you could do better, but also you could become a leader who changes society in a positive way, brings people together, and is a unifier. That means that this video is gonna be painful. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be gritty. It's gonna be raw. But we're gonna do this to prepare you and cover many of the themes that we're gonna be going into in exercise format in our new upcoming self-help events. Now, as you're watching this, I want you to remember that when you attend the self-help event, it's gonna be primarily transformation-based and exercise-based. So this is just preparing you for the kind of thinking that we're gonna be going deep on in the event itself. At the event, it's gonna be you doing exercise and me leading that exercise, or the instructor team leading that exercise. But what we're doing here is going into the themes of it, which is gonna be really incredible because it's gonna allow those ideas to marinate in your head and give you a greater context for the type of transformation it is that you're gonna have. So what you're gonna do right now is lay back, enjoy. I'm very excited for you to sign up when we launch this new event. And in the meantime, just let this marinate, what it is about human nature that makes us so messed up, why you're messed up, and what it would take for you to become a leader, a unifier, and somebody who changes the world. The reason why you want to go through this and not avoid it, here's why. A lot of this stuff sounds bad, like, oh, I'd rather shelter myself from this. The problem is when you don't understand these kind of things, when you don't get it, when you don't get this about human nature, it's gonna catch up with you either way. You can try to escape from this, but just like how everybody in this room probably had some person that you're dating and then they just did you so dirty and you're so traumatized, it's because you weren't willing to see reality how it was. Or if you don't understand that with people that you work with or business partners or whatever, if you don't understand that's part of human nature, if you don't get that, you're gonna be shocked. You're gonna literally be shocked. It's going to catch up with you. And essentially the reason it happens, something was called an RAS flip. Say this with me, RAS flip, okay? An RAS flip is basically, it just means that in the past, RAS is called selective focus. You can look this up on a search engine, RAS, reticular activation system. Basically what happens is that there's a whole picture, and then there's the part of the picture that we choose to focus on, okay? And what happens is, when you have value to somebody, your RAS overly focuses on all the good things. But then what happens is that if you lose value to somebody, the RAS flips and they'll focus on this random obscure stuff and they'll construct a narrative in their head about how what you did was wrong. The first time I saw this, I was sitting with my first ever girlfriend, and it was the one that dumped me for the manager of the pita pit. And I remember when she dumped me, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe that she was dumping me. And I was sitting there with her and I'm like, how could you do this? And she's like, well, I remember a year ago, I was in the tub and I asked you how I looked, and you didn't say that I looked beautiful, and it made me feel ugly. I'm like, I don't remember this. When was this? It was a year ago. What happens is, look, have you ever had a dream about something from your childhood that you couldn't remember now, but your dream remembered it? You ever had that? You have a dream about something from years ago, and you're like, wow, how did I remember that? That's so trippy. once that person that you're dating has had the RAS flip, they will start remembering the most obscure things, and it will literally move it to the forefront of their minds, and they'll loop on that over and over and over to rationalize doing you dirty. Or what they'll do is they'll provoke fights, or some little small infraction like showing up 30 seconds late or something totally minor that in the past they wouldn't even look at because they want you so bad. They're going to like focus on that, and they're going to make an argument about it, and they'll do it as rationalization. You will see this happening in a bar or club where you're talking to somebody and they could be there with their significant other, and if you have more value, literally their significant other's voice will tune them out. The person you're talking to will tune out the voice of their significant other and just talk to you. And you may wind up like running off to the bathroom with them to make out or something, and you're thinking, was that her significant other there? That is so crazy. I can't believe this. But it's what's happening. And the reason why is because human beings, we rationalize. And the reason why that happens is because most of us do not have a lot of consciousness. Now, what's funny is I've seen a lot of guys these days that will talk about how women are the ones doing this. Women are the one doing it. That's wrong. That's not true. This is something that men and women and all human beings do, and all forms of life do. All of us. So now the thing is, we can ignore this. Like, I can choose to not talk about this, and that's fine. But if I don't talk about this, what's going to happen is you're going to wind up in a very dark, messed up situation. Because it's going to catch up with you. You're going to see this stuff as it happens. And so what's better in my experience is to recognize this, recognize your own weird places where you act like this, and then beginning to forgive other people, and then beginning to forgive ourselves. And if you don't believe that this is real, I mean, just pause and think about these giant wars that have gone on for thousands and thousands of years. Most cavemen they find, as far as I know, there'll be some weird like spear thing in its gut because some other human being killed the caveman. How many people killed each other in World War II? And they completely rationalized just pulling a trigger and mowing each other down and ending thousands of lives, dropping a nuclear bomb and killing untold amounts of people, right? So that's a part of human nature. It's also part of animal nature. See, you think that you're this like person in this certain way. You don't realize you're basically like a bunch of cells that's running. Like if some other alien from some higher state of consciousness saw us, they would just see a bunch of cells reproducing. They would just see a bunch of cells moving around. But then your consciousness is sort of kind of enclosed in that cell mass that you're in. And what happens is, and you don't realize this, but a huge amount of your consciousness is not even you. It is literally addictions to different chemicals like cortisol, adrenaline, or positivity, by the way. It's addiction to, a lot of people would speculate different spiritual energies, like there's different spiritual energies that are inhabiting you. Some people would call that spiritual entities. I'm not clear if there's spiritual entities or not, but I've seen some weird stuff where I'm looking at people and I truly, like, from my vantage point, the way that it looks to me is like an entity is attached to them and running them. That is what it looks like to me when I see them. And if I had to guess, I'd say yes, that's probably what it is. But I don't know for a fact because I can't see it and I can't prove it. But I've seen things that are so weird that that's the best conclusion that I can come to. And I could talk about, I could do a really long seminar on that. When we do our self-help seminar, who here is coming to that, by the way? Put your hands up. A couple of you guys are coming to that? Some people signed up yesterday. Cool. That'll be really fun. So I'll show you a bunch of weird stuff like that, like what's running you. We'll get into that and it'll be really weird. So basically what you have is you have people are being run by different energies. They're being run by different paradigms. They're being run by their reticular activation system. They're being run by all these different things that they're unaware of. And when I look at somebody, I can look in their pupil and I can get a sense of what's running them. I can get a sense of, what's making them do what they do. And it's pretty crazy stuff. To really get a handle on this, I believe that we're going to have to change our education system. And I'm not saying I'm the one to do it, and I'm not trying to make any weird statement here or anything, but I'm just making the point, we're going to have to really change our education system. Some of the really good signs that I've seen are people like Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey will talk about things like seek first to understand, then to be understood. There's also other programs called things like nonviolent communication, or people who will teach empathy. The basic way that I would put it to you is that for humanity to move forward with these kind of problems that we have, we're going to have to get to a point where people First of all, they come out of coping, because when you're in coping, you can become very adversarial very quickly. But also you're going to do a lot of dirty shit when you're in coping. And guys, most people honestly are in coping. But another thing that's going to have to happen, in my opinion, is we're probably also going to have to educate people on empathy. And by the way, here, working on dating content, one of the major things we're going to be working on is empathy and understanding what a woman is feeling if you're a guy, or, and I'm going to cover even for girls a little bit with guys, what a guy would feel, for a girl. And really that same empathy is also used in marketing, right? For us, with the self-help event we're going to do, that's going to be a major thing we'll cover there as well, is basically being aware of how you're marketing to somebody. So once you understand what somebody else is experiencing, you can create a win-win for them. You can create an easy win for that person because you understand where they're coming from. And you can get to a point where you don't need to take anything from anybody. People who think they need to take, it's a zero-sum game where for them to win, somebody has to lose. That is not a good thing. It should always be a win-win. In your dating life, if you meet somebody, they should have had a great experience. And if they didn't, then you should be able to duck out of there and make it very chill and easy and nice. Likewise, if you do business with somebody or if you market, it should be a really, really, really great experience for them. Okay? And I want to show you guys that too. But really, for human beings to come out of this, the problem is until we acknowledge human nature as it is, or at least try to get some more accurate picture of it, we're not going to be able to fix things. We just can't fix it. And you'll see, we're even seeing this in modern politics where the right hates the left and the left hates the right. And what's happening is people are literally addicted on certain belief patterns, and they don't understand like those other people are human. These are all humans. And those human beings are operating based off of their fears, their needs, and their paradigms, and they're just trying to make sense of the world, and they're also probably engaging in tribalism. One of the great channels I would love to start, but I'm scared to start it because I think it would get nuked, is I would start a channel where I'd bring in people from the right, bring in people from the left, and I would get them to talk to each other and have conversations. And I would start digging into what's running each person and take a neutral position and show them where there's some kind of middle ground. Basically, the way the mind works, here's what it is, okay? You want to think of your belief systems, I call it brain plus lane. Say that with me, brain plus lane. So what that means is that in brain plus lane, what that is basically saying is that whatever it is that you believe about the world, it's going to usually be two things that's running you. One of them is you're going to believe based on where you see a lane. Anybody here in America probably believes America's the best country, right? Well, maybe you don't these days, but you know my point, right? You're pro-America. Why you're American? It's your lane to believe that. Most people in the Philippines, they like the Philippines. Most people in Canada like Canada. That's your lane. It's in your advantage to have that belief system. In general, your belief system, like what you believe, you're going to find a lane, and that's going to determine, where you sit on the political spectrum. It's going to determine your opinion about other people. It's going to determine your opinion about all sorts of different things. Is where you can benefit. What is in your benefit? Whatever you believe is in your best interest, you have a lane and you're probably going to believe that. The thing is, we share the planet, right? So do you want to get rid of everybody off the planet? You want everybody with a different opinion than you to be dead? Is that what you want? Well, then you got to share the planet. So that's where things like seek first to understand, then to be understood, or empathy, or nonviolent communication, or learning to view other people not as your enemy, these kind of paradigms have to kick in. And if we don't kick these in, the planet is too overpopulated and people are going to fight it out. And there's these crazy weapons these days. You've probably heard of them, right? So if we don't do something about that, if that doesn't become part of, if we don't acknowledge the way we work and we don't do something to fix it, I think what's going to happen is people are going to really mess themselves up. And by the way, it's even worse too with things like pollution because nobody wants to deal with it, right? And I see this in business. You wouldn't imagine in business how it is, right? Like, just being like fully real, let me give an example. Say that we're trying to budget something within our team. And I'm like, guys, if we change the budgets around, we could go do this. And if we go do this thing, we can all make way more money. We'll all make way more money. Do you understand how hard it is for me to get a team to agree with that? Almost any time that I would do that, my dudes, what they'll do, they'll be like, well, I'm different. I shouldn't have to do that, but get everybody else to do that. I'm like, guys, come on, like, do we want to move forward here or do we want to stay stuck? That's the thing, right? It's like if you want to get rid of pollution, what does everybody want? They want everybody else to stop polluting. They don't want to have to do it. The biggest thing is, say, for example, sex without a condom. Almost nobody uses condoms when they have sex. Everybody wants to be the person where they don't use where everybody else uses the condom, so they don't get an STD or the wrong pregnancy, but they don't want themselves to have to use a condom because they want the best taste or the best feeling on their private part. So, so that's a bit, or taste or whatever. So the basic thing is, like, everybody wants everybody else to do it. They don't want to have to do it. Now with human beings, here's what's funny. You can, and I've had to do this with my work, you can get the team to buy in. You can get people to buy in, but they've really, really, really got to believe in the vision. So to be a leader, you've got to be able to recruit people into a very specific vision. And you've got to show them, and you've got to be convincing, this vision that I have is going to move us forward. It's going to be better for all of us if we can do this. That's where a transformational leader comes in, a visionary leader, where they can show somebody something better and they can bring people together. They're able to bring people that have different opinions and whatnot together and move us forward. Now, and one other quick thing about your point, you've got to understand that humans are a work in progress. We're evolving now, okay? So as a species, we're just beginning to wake up. It's just beginning to happen. So the priority right now really is to keep everybody from killing each other and wrecking the planet so that we can begin to wake up, because we're still in a half derp days right now. So let's say that here I'm doing this event and you're in coping versus thriving. If you're somebody who's if you're in a coping standpoint, what does that mean? Why do we have these problems? What coping means, I'm going to tie this all in with our stuff we do today anyway, so it's going to be awesome. What coping means, basically, is that you're not okay within yourself. You remember I said there's all these things running you? Trauma energy, maybe bad food that you're eating, maybe bad paradigms, bad beliefs, that's running you. And let me ask you, okay, I want to get you really in touch with this. I want you to really get in touch with this. How much of your actual life do you spend being productive or just having fun and enjoying life versus just trying to mentally cope with all the stress that you're under and not go crazy? What ratio would you guys throw out there? Audit yourself. How much of a workday do you really spend productive versus do you spend daydreaming and trying to reframe things that are frustrating you and trying to just cope with your day? I would predict most of you at 20%. And here's why I say that. How many hours do you really lock in and work and focus nonstop? Audit yourself. That's called coping. Now let's say another thing. How much of your fun time, you wait all week to have fun time, right? How much of your fun time do you even spend having fun in childlike abandon and fun versus just trying to mentally reframe what you're dealing with? Most people during fun time, they drink alcohol. They need to turn their brain off. Do you realize alcohol is not even really fun? It's just numbing. That's what fun is to most people. You ever heard of scissurup? People die from it, like the double styrofoam cup with like codeine and promethazine in it. Okay, you know what's funny? You can learn a lot from studying drugs. And I've read these drug forums and seen people's experiences. There's this one drug forum, and it'll say the word swim, someone not me or something. Like, what is it? Does anyone know that? Someone who isn't me, right? So in that forum, they'll say swim said this or swim said that. You know what I've noticed? I was always curious about drugs because I feel like it says something about human nature. And because I never did them, so I was curious what the hell they were. And I'll tell you, a lot of these drugs that you'll see, like the scissurup and things like that, I've never done it. But from what I can tell, you don't even really get high from it. It's just kind of numbing. Like a lot of these really dirty, nasty drugs are literally appealing to people who are just in continual pain and trauma, and it will just shut off the trauma. That's their version of getting high. Whereas somebody who's very emotionally healthy, you pump them with a bunch of promethazine or something, they're like, whoa, they're like, I can't think, this is weird. Like who would want to feel like this? You'll see that quite often, right? The drug itself is viewed as pleasurable or as kind of just numbing and disorienting, depending on how much trauma you're carrying. Most of your day, you'll see people looking at their phone, staring in their phone, because they're mentally retreating. They're looking at television to mentally retreat. Even when they're having fun, they're arguing with their significant other, they're arguing with their friends, they go to take a trip to Hawaii, they're arguing about the plane flight, about the plans, about everything. They're in coping. The average person who's in coping is so much trying to deal with the reality of life that they can't really accomplish a lot. And if you start feeding them, taking the political thing we talked about, left versus right and all that kind of stuff, you start feeding them that, and what's going to happen is they're in this angry mode of what's called untargeted discontent. Say that with me. Untargeted discontent. That's where you just feel like something's not right. There's just this weird feeling something's not right. And when you feel that way, that something isn't right, and someone says to you, things aren't right, society sucks, the world's a bad place, this previous administration screwed up everything. Literally, if they get specific about what the other administration screwed up, you could actually debate that back and forth. There's too much specifics. So a politician will just make these general claims that something sucks. And here's what's funny. If they do something other than that, they're probably not going to win the election. Also, another thing to understand about human nature, when you're in a derp state, it's hard to go from derping and numbness to laughter, love, peace, joy, enlightenment. There's a gap in the energetic scale. So you can study David R. Hawking's Power versus Force. Just look that up, Power versus Force, the energetic scale. You don't need to agree with it. You don't need to agree with anything you ever really read or see. It's really just a thought experiment. Even in this seminar is a thought experiment. I read everything, but it's literally just a thought experiment to me. Nothing's off limits for me to read. It's just to stimulate my mind. The map is never really fully the territory. It's just to get you thinking, even this seminar here. So that's why we do infield training, right? So that's the real territory, but we can give maps that can help you in the infield. So that being the case, what you have is, if somebody's in a low paradigm, what is the only thing that can even get their mind to engage a little bit? The only thing that can get their mind to engage a little bit, what is it? Anger, rage. That is why in clickbait it's called rage bait, right? Rage bait, clickbait. What is going to get shared? Outrage. That's how things go viral, outrage. Why is that? Why do they do that in the news? Why do they keep pushing the fake news button? Because they know that they're going to get more clicks. That's the condition that I see with humanity. So what I generally see is we have this thing, we call it brain plus lane and reticular activation system. And what that means is basically we do an audit of our brain and how much intelligence we have, how much impulse control we have, how much focus we have, the ability for sustained focus, the ability for discipline, the ability to think in more complex and higher paradigms. We look at that and we kind of intuitively understand it. So if you know deep down that you don't have impulse control, that you're going to be lazy, that you don't have what it takes to make certain decisions, it's virtually like the types of belief systems that you're going to have is almost predestined. So what do I mean by that? Best example I ever think of. This is my constant reminder of human nature. So you think that chairs thing was funny? You want to know an even funnier one than the chairs? Here's a funnier one than the chairs. Let's get blunt. If we go to the men's bathroom right now here, I would predict, I didn't even check, but I would predict that every toilet is covered in piss. Am I right? Now, you know where it gets really weird? I'll see a guy come out of the crapper, and there's piss all over the seat. I'm like, did you sit in that, bro? Did you just sit in that? We're getting real. You know, like, damn, bro, you didn't even want to wipe it? Like, you just saw all the piss, just like, no one's gonna know. I mean, maybe other men's piss doesn't really do anything bad, so maybe I'm the delusional one and have wasted thousands of hours of my life scrubbing down toilets. Maybe they're right and I'm wrong. Like, maybe, I don't know. Someone Google it, right? Everything on Google's true. So what you have, did you have a point about the piss?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yell it loud. Chris.
One time I was in Hollywood and
louder.
I went into the bathroom and there was a guy picking up weed out the piss.
There's a guy picking weed out of the piss in the Hollywood bathroom. I mean, talk about RAS, right? And so understand, that piss that you see, why is it that we do that? Look, I usually, 8 out of 10 times that I go to the bathroom, first thing I'll do is I'll put up the toilet seat with my shoe, And if I did piss on the seat, I'll wipe it 8 out of 10 times. But I gotta admit, look, sometimes, man, you walk in the bathroom, there's piss everywhere. There's more piss than toilet. And I'm like, you know what? Bombs away, right? And why do I do that? Because I feel like nobody else is gonna do any different. And that's what's called diffusion of responsibility, okay? Diffusion of responsibility. So for example, when I do parties, right? Believe it or not, I'll do a party with 500 or 600 people at my crib. Every single thing that is not nailed to the ground, and even some stuff that is, will be stolen. People don't get this. Why is that? Regular people who would normally never steal anything, when there is a diffusion of responsibility, will just steal. It's like you'll see it with people that are rioting, normal sweet people. Like you'll see some sweet young girl, you know, ponytail or, you know, hi. Everybody just starts rioting. They're just like, okay. And then you just start rioting and like looting and breaking stuff. Human beings, when there's diffusion of responsibility, we get crazy. It is really crazy. Let me put it to you this way. When I'm recording videos, sometimes I record videos in these beautiful buildings, right? Well, you know, sometimes you're recording in some beautiful say you're recording in a casino in Vegas, right? Say you're recording at some beautiful casino. You got the camera, you got the camera out, you know. Sometimes, maybe somebody there who works there, not so excited that you're recording there, right? There's two types of, how often do you think I do this? Let's not talk about that. So there's two types of people that come up to me. One type, they're like, oh, sir, can't record in here. And I'm like, hey, bro, come here. We're chilling. We're good. Peace. And they walk off. You want to know why they do that? Because it's the path of least resistance. It's more work for them to talk me through it and get rid of me than it is for me to just say it's all good. Now, another level is I'll pull out $5. You would be shocked the things people will do for $5. It is unreal. I've had it where I'm running a seminar late. Some security guard will come and be like, this is against the rules. This is unacceptable. How dare you do this? We need to have this room clean. And I'm like, hey man, come here. Bro, $5. And they're like, have a great night. $5, bro. Like okay? It's the funniest thing how it works. When you just realize that someone has your back a little bit, you're like, wait a minute, they're not the other? They've got my back? I love those guys, and you feel part of it. It's the craziest thing. But that's where a lot of our division comes from, is we feel like we're not part of something. We're not included. When I would teach dating stuff for guys, you'd hear like a lot of girls would be like, oh, I don't like that, I don't like that. I'm like, no, come out with us. They come out with us, and then they come out like to the bar or the club. They meet the guys, they feel like they're part of it. They're our biggest fans. They become our biggest advocates. Just feeling included in it. It's just by getting people to feel included. It's the craziest thing, right? That's what's so important about inclusivity. Finding a win, like finding ways of creating things where there's a win for everybody. But it's hard to do because there's so many different types of people. And that's what a leader has to do. Now let's go back to it a little bit, what a leader is dealing with. So basically what you have is, if I do a party with 500 of my friends, literally there's gonna be piss on the floor. Like I'll walk past the bathroom, there's just pools of piss coming out from under the door. There's people pissing off the balcony. There's people just dropping cigarettes on the ground. People doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm like, this person's supposed to be my friend. I've learned, don't put expensive alcohol at your party. They don't care. They're just guzzling it down in a half days. I've had great friends of mine show up at parties, and if the drinks ran out for 2 seconds, someone's shooting down the hill to get the drinks, they just walk out of the party. They don't care. They're just there in a derp state and in taker mode. It's a crazy thing. It's called diffusion of responsibility. Let me give another example. On boot camp, let's say that it's me, 2 other instructors, and a total of 9 students. What I've learned on boot camp, you literally cannot not assign the students. You have to assign the students to a specific instructor. So if we have, say that it's like me, Jeff, and Julian, and we have 9 guys, that's 3 apiece. Even me, Jeff, and Julian, if we don't assign the specific guy that we're responsible for, we will have little mini RAS flips. So I'll have like 1 guy I'm coaching, and I'll rationalize that I've got my 3. They'll have 1 guy they're coaching, and they'll rationalize that they have their 3. The other guy will rationalize that he's got his 3. And at the end of the night, there's 4 or 5 guys that fell through the cracks. But if you make somebody accountable and you hold them to account, they get that reticular activation flip, and they wind up being held to account. So don't underestimate the extent to which we are rationalizers. I see it even in myself. You want to know the real truth how I got a pot belly? The battery in my scale died. I used to wake up every freaking day, man, and I would look at what I weighed, and my battery in my scale lasted for years. So I'd look at what I weighed, and if I weighed 0.1 or 0.2 more, on that day, I would just dial it back a little bit. And then the next day I'd wake up maybe 0.1 less. Maybe I could, indulge slightly more. Then if I went 0.1 more, I would indulge slightly less. And I did that for years. I kept a good body weight. Then my scale battery ran out. Yeah, that's all it took, guys. A scale battery ran out. And I said to myself, okay, I'll get one later. But I probably gained like 3 or 4 pounds. Now, once I'd gained 3 or 4 pounds, do I want to get a scale battery? But I know at some point I'm going to get it, right? When's that some point that I'm going to get my scale battery? Later. I'll do it later. Later. Right? Later is like an addiction. If it's a quick point about this, yeah?
Do you have one now, battery?
I do. Thank you. Yeah, I've been back in the gym this year. I'm getting bigger. I kept my food around the same, but I've been back lifting, so I'm getting stronger. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm happy to be back in. I'll start cutting soon. It'll be fun. I'll probably never be in amazing shape, but I'll be in good shape. Yeah.
I have a question about business.
Well, here's another thing. Is this something for the audience and on this track, or is this for you?
I hope it's for the audience.
Ask the question, and then I'm going to give you feedback. Go ahead.
Okay.
I may answer it or I may not. The number one thing, so look at now how you don't want to consume the time and energy to even stand up and engage the crowd with your question so they could hear it.
So my question is, when you're trying to be a leader,
And not just to me, to them. Especially if you're trying to be a leader.
when you're trying to be a leader and you're trying to build a team to like go towards a vision that you have, do you try to show them the macro of where it's going to be 10 years down the line?
Yeah, you have to show them how it will benefit them. You have to get them to buy in and show how it benefits them. And that's where things like integrity come in, because when somebody lacks integrity, you want to know what that says to me? Have a seat, by the way. The way that I think about integrity, you want to know what that is? You ever see Avatar? How in the Avatar movie, they have these little tentacles that they use to interface with other people? That's your interface mechanism, right? What happens when you prove to people that you lack integrity? What happens to that ability to interface? It breaks it. I'm going to teach this in spades as I get older. I've had so many lessons. Anytime I've broken my integrity, it probably will come back to haunt me 5 or 10x worse. Anytime I cut a corner, it probably comes back to get me 5 or 10x worse. You know these like kind of conservative people that are very moralistic? If you're more liberal, you're looking at someone who's conservative and you're like, oh, they're uptight, they're lame, they're not cool. You don't realize, literally, they're trying to make your life easier. You're actually trying to make life easier for that person. Like, for me to lose the weight that I put on, think about for every pound that I put on, how much cardio and how much cutting will I have to do of deprivation to get off each pound relative to the enjoyment that I got from eating a French fry. It's like the amount of pleasure from the French fry is so fleeting. It's like, done. And then to get off that thing of fries you ate is like a full hike of Runyon Canyon. Whatever your belief in dieting is, right? Whatever it is for you. But you see that, there's a lot of opinions on that. I want to acknowledge that. But you see my point, right? So it's never what you think it is. A big part of life is actually learning how that all works. But let's go back to brain and lane, okay? So basically what it is that people are rationalizers. I can barely get people in this room to move seats. I can barely get people in this room to do things that would benefit themselves. I can barely get people not to piss on the toilet seat. Even with this speech, most of you in this room, 70, 80% of you, will piss on the toilet seat outside and say, what are you going to say? Everybody else won't piss on it, but I'll piss on it. Most of you guys here, if I talk about condom use, right now you'll be like, I'll be good on condoms. But when you're fooling around that person and you're aroused, you know what you're going to say to yourself? Everybody else can use the condoms, not me. And I asked her if she's clean. She said she got tested. Well, then she'll ask you if you got tested and you didn't, and you're going to say, I did. You're going to lie. Right? Who here has done that? Don't put your hands up. Oh, you all did that. So, okay, you see my point, right? That's the extent to which we rationalize. We always want somebody else to do the work We want us not to have to do the engagement, and we're looking for the easier way. But here's the thing. What is the drive that made us create an airplane? What's the purpose of an airplane? Efficiency, speed, and to do less work. You want to go back to taking a horse and buggy or walking to New York? If you want to go to New York, you want to do that? You want to get rid of elevators and just run up to be fair, that might be good for us, but you see my point, right? So that same desire to even have a cell phone so that you can communicate with somebody from far away to save time and energy is your greatest strength, and it's one of our greatest strengths as a species. But that same mechanism, what happens is, essentially the mechanism misfires. Because if you're a caveman, cavewoman, whatever, cave person, if you're a cave person, then what happens is you're going to be at a point where, as a cave person, you're going to have these things that come at you, and they're painful enough that then you're going to take action. So when you're really, really hungry, you're going to get in the habit of taking action. So the way that mechanism is meant to work in you, it's meant to work to the extent that you will not take action unless you really, really need to. Does everybody here feel that and understand that in themselves? Okay? That laziness is there. Why is that laziness there? It's so you don't overexert. It's so you don't kill yourself. It's so you don't overexert. It's so you don't kill yourself. Okay? What would happen if you weren't resistant to burning energy? You just run around until you burned up or something, right? So your body makes it where you're resistant to spending energy so that you'll only do something if you really have to. But here's the thing. What if you want to build a lot of wealth? What if you want to build a team? What if you want to build a company? What if you want to master your craft in your profession or work? What if you wanted to build a great body as an example? Whatever it is, right? What if you want to go to something at a high level? Well, then what you're doing is you have to add that pressure onto yourself in some other way. That could be a coach. I go to amazing mentors. I mean, frankly, you know what I do? I pay a lot of money for amazing mentors. You want to know why I do that? I do it so it'll hurt. Take my vocal coaches. I've had a vocal coach, $150 an hour. I would show up late. I wouldn't do the exercise. I wouldn't do my homework. I'd zone out. I'd check my phone during the lesson. Finally, I just said, I'm going to go right to Roger Love. He taught Michael Jackson. He taught Prince, Eminem, all these guys, the Beach Boys. Roger's $1,500 an hour. All of a sudden, I'd show up on time. I'd focus. If he checked his phone, I'd be like, Roger, wake up. Let's go. He didn't do that. He's amazing. But you see my point, right? Basically, what would happen is by me paying, it made me do it. It kicked in my survival mechanism. At some point, I'll probably get a personal trainer for my body. Why? So that they can provide that motivation. That's part of it. So you've got to understand that about yourself. You're going to resist. People who won't go get mentors or won't create mastermind groups or people who won't get coach or things like that, I'm like, man, you're in deep, deep, deep trouble. You've got to make a decision to get help. Thinking that you don't need help will always be a mistake. One of the benefits of making more money is so that you can go get more help. I mean, in a perfect world, imagine if you just had someone who was on your butt 24 hours a day, making you do everything. Funny enough, if you had enough money, you could do that. But until you're at that point and you can't afford that, what you can do is you can do a little bit of coaching. You can do a bit of mentoring. Use that to make more money and funds and build on it. But let's go back again to that brain and lane thing. As an example, let's say you want to learn social skills. Okay, cool, social skills. Well, some people, they're not going to believe that they can do it. They don't believe they can do it. So it's in their best interest to believe what? Say that I say to you, you can improve your social skills, but you know that you're a dark person, you're a weird person, you don't have the willpower. If you know that you're somebody who doesn't have the willpower to do the following things, you don't have the willpower to talk to anybody or approach. You don't have the willpower to take rejection. You don't have the willpower to cope with the attack on your ego when not everybody likes you. You don't have the willpower to go out on a regular basis to build your skills. Well, what are you going to believe about the fact that I tell you you could improve your social skills? What are you going to believe if you just know deep down you don't have it? What are you going to conveniently believe? Somebody who conveniently believes that will look at a seminar like this and they will see it through what's called an RAS flip. And they will literally believe, they can watch in-field video of me in social interactions. They can read testimonial after testimonial of other people that met me in person, went out with me. They can see it all laid out. But through their selective focus, because they don't have the ability to break out of that, because they don't have the prefrontal cortex strength, the willpower, the paradigms in their head, they will literally believe that what they're seeing is a bunch of morons in a room learning from some other moron. You ever just watch something that you're just like, this is complete BS when you're watching it? Yeah. That's what they're going to see. Have any of you in this room ever seen people who would say that in comments about some amazing vid? Like you just watched this like clearly awesome video from myself or anybody I work with, and you read a comment underneath and you think, how could they possibly have gotten this from this video? Like, this guy went out, he worked on this for years and years and years. He took the time to record it, he edited it beautifully, he posted it, and this is what somebody took from it? Who here has ever had that feeling when you read a comment? It's crazy, right? And by the way, when I see that, I don't feel bad like, oh, I'm under attack. I feel bad for the person. I'm like, this is what you got out of this? I went and did all this, and that's what you took out of it? It scares me. I think one of the scariest things about weird internet comments is not that anybody's personally offended by the weird internet comment, is that you realize, like, who am I, like, when I'm in a shopping mall, like, who else is here? Like, who are these weird people writing this? This is some messed up stuff. Well, why are they seeing that? Because they're in what's called contraction. Say that with me. Contraction. Okay, they're in contraction. They're in coping. Say the word coping. They're in coping. And so what does a victim complex do? What is the purpose of a victim complex? What does it do?
Take responsibility.
Yes, diffusion complex, a victim complex, which, funny enough, diffusion complex is a great way to put it. What it does is it lets the person cope. It's no different than eating a Big Mac. It's no different than drinking alcohol or taking drugs. What does doing drugs do? It numbs that bad feeling. The idea of being a victim, what does it do? It numbs the bad feelings that you have towards something. Now, in the direction that society is going, which is really crazy, the biggest thing they're trying to do is they're trying to avoid triggering anybody. And that's, in some ways, a good thing because it prevents offensive ideas from coming out so no one can be offended. But in some cases, like say that I were to say to that person who's learning something amazing and can't see it, maybe that person kind of needs to get triggered. Like, hey, wake up, man. You're not doing good right now. You got to wake up. Break out of your victim complex. Wake up. But if we don't do that, they could stay stuck in that forever. That's what scares me with people that are always so delicate. Sometimes someone that's delicate needs more loving care, right? If you broke your leg, the way to fix it isn't like start pounding squats out, right? But if you broke your leg, the way you fix it is at first you give it some nice loving care until it heals to an extent, and then what do you do to finalize the reconditioning of the leg? What do you do?
Physical therapy.
You got to put weight on it. At some point, you got to put weight on it. That's what your beliefs about yourself or getting critical feedback means. That's called getting challenged. Even in a weird way, somebody like, hating on one of my videos or something, which I don't care about at all, that's actually healthy for me. Do you guys understand that? What if people didn't do that? What if all I ever got was great comments on the content I put out? Would that really be the healthiest thing for my psychology? No. What if every person that you approached was super attracted to you? Would that really be the best thing for your psychology? No. You need those rejections. That's feedback. That's going to make you strengthen yourself. That's healthy for you, okay? That's a good thing for you. So understand that a lot of your belief system is brain plus lane. If you believe that a certain belief system could work for you and you could benefit from it, and you believe that you have the brain power to benefit, you're going to take massive action. I saw this when I would visit countries like in the third world that are really bad, and some people would do things like huff paint, they would sniff glue, they would take feces and ferment it like kombucha, put something in it to capture the gas, huff it to hallucinate. It's called the Jenkums. And they would hallucinate while it burns out their eyes. Now, this is essentially a seesaw. Why do some people do this? Why? There's a lot of reasons, but one of them is the following. What are the reasons why somebody will do the Jenkums? Funny enough, there's like Jenkums labs. You can again find on search engine. These people are doing this because they don't believe that they have a future. If you don't think that you have a future, if you don't see a bigger picture for yourself, then why wouldn't you huff your own feces and get high? Now, I know that if you're not in that mode, That seems inconceivable. But what I'd ask you is, what is your version of the Jenkins? Repeat after me. What is my Jenkins?
What is my Jenkins?
And what I mean by that is, what's that smaller version? See, what something like the Jenkins can do, when you look at that and you see that exists and you say, that, like, remember I was saying yesterday how, like, ultimately we're all related? That's somebody who you're related to, who's made a decision to huff their own feces to get high. That's a very dark decision. How about things like crystal meth or heroin? And they're choosing to put something in their body that's going to give a lot of short-term pleasure, but you know what's funny? Every time you do that stuff, you're getting worse and worse. And then you need it more and more. I mean, this is some of the darkest, most demonic lifestyles that you could get into. Very dangerous. Very, very dangerous stuff. And people are doing this. We like to ignore it. People are doing this. Why? Because it's brain plus lane. First of all, as you do drugs, it erodes your brain. So deep down, you know that you don't have the impulse control, the complex thinking patterns, the discipline, the focus. You know that you don't have that anymore because you destroyed your brain with drugs. So why not just go and take the easy way out and do something that helps you to cope? It gives relief. Why wouldn't you do that? If quick one, yeah.
How do I work with negative feedback and rejection to get out of coping and into thriving?
Well, the best way that I would put it to you is like this. You have to have a decision in your mind that you're going to get good. You know, take rejection, you're going to get better socially. And you have to believe that you can really do that. Once you start getting success, you will see this consistently in personal development. Once you start getting success, what's going to happen is you're going to start wanting to eat healthier. You're going to start wanting to read books. You're going to start wanting to do things like meditation or things like that. You're going to start wanting to do things that are good for yourself. When you have the belief that there's a direction and a hope, you will want to come to that seminar. You'll want to get a coach. Why would the average person never get a coach or a mentor? Because they don't believe it would work. They don't believe it, so why would they do it? And if they hear somebody telling them to do it, it's annoying to them. Why would they do it? They don't believe it. But, I mean, take in my case, right? I believe in myself. I probably spend, I don't know, $5,000 a month on my health. Does that sound like a lot? Maybe 10 a month on my health. Sounds like a lot, probably 5 to 10, depends on the month. Sounds crazy, right? Well, why do I do that? Now, a lot of the supplements that I take, say that I take a 100-year-old ginseng. A 100-year-old ginseng from Dragon Herbs is about $1,200 a bottle. A little bottle, last couple weeks, $1,200 a bottle. So when you would hear me saying that I would buy that, now you would think that if you spent $1,200 on a 100-year-old ginseng product, and you could learn more about that on your own, would you think that for $1,200, this thing is like a miracle cure? It's amazing, right? Wrong. It's not. At all. For $1,200, I'm going to get 1% better. Now, bear in mind, I have not been sick in years. Bear in mind, my focus has gotten better every year. Bear in mind, my ability to have complex thinking patterns and willpower has increased over the years. What if every month that you took that, you got 1% better every month? What does that mean over 5 years? That's a big difference. But to invest that kind of money, you've got to believe that you're going to do something with that. You've got to have a belief that there's a point. And if you don't think there's a point to that, why would you do it? Why would you spend that? There is no point. If you don't believe there's a point in drinking green vegetable juice instead of Coca-Cola, if you don't see a point, like, look at the paradigm most people are in. Okay, right now, you can eat a cake and drink Coca-Cola. Okay, cool. Or you can have this kale juice. Is drinking a kale juice, how does kale juice taste? Different opinions on kale juice out there, by the way, but you know my point. Okay, cool. How much better will your life be if you drink one kale juice?
1%.
Probably not even 1%. It is such an accumulative effect over time. Here's what you're going to learn in life. Okay. Creating something is really long. Destroying something is really quick. Think of a war. Somebody pulls a trigger, they kill somebody. Think of what went in for the food, the mother getting pregnant, raising it. What does it cost to raise a kid? Think about all that. And yet somebody can pull a trigger and ruin everything, right? It's disgusting, but that's how the world works. That's the world we live in. So that being the case, what you have is your health could take a decade to really cultivate. I'm still on my journey of creating health. I'm not where I need to be. I started my health journey maybe at age 29. I'm 39 now. I'll probably be where I want to be in my health journey by about 45. Like, boom, it'll be awesome. It's about 15 years. Well, what made me resonate with that? Why did I just suddenly be like, I want to dump my money into that? Why do I want to dump my money into mentors? Why do I want to dump my money into educational training? Why do I want to read many hours a day? Like, say that you spend 2 hours a day reading. How much better do you think you actually get from one time reading 2 hours instead of watching a movie? Minimal. It's so minimal. How much do you think one workout or hike benefits you? It's really, really minimal. So you have to have that long-term vision that over time, that's going to add up and accumulate. You've got to have a vision like, well, in 5 years from now or in 10 years from now, things are going to look a lot better. You've got to see that. And again, it's that brain plus lane thing. The problem is, the more that you put in your body that hurts it and hurts your intelligence, unconsciously, you know you're not smart enough to benefit. You know deep down you're not. And if deep down you know that you don't have the mental resources or physical resources to actually get the benefit from this thing that you go do, you will come up with a mental lie to rationalize that that thing sucks. You'll think it sucks. If I go get a nice apartment, say like 10 years ago, I get a nice apartment. Say I paid $3,500 a month for that apartment 10 years ago. If I'd show it to buddies of mine that can't afford an apartment, even $3,500 a month, you know what they'll say almost immediately? $3,500 a month? Oh, that's terrible. Why would you live it? You don't need to pay that. This place isn't that great. Now, think about that for a moment. Social skills wise. If you let someone in your home, you like your apartment, when that person says, this place sucks, is that about you or is that about them? It's like, oh, thanks. Well, the lease is 12 months. Like, what do you want me to do with this advice you just gave me? I'm stuck here. Because it's about them. Okay? It's about them. Like, for example, I remember an old Wendy's commercial, and Wendy's is really meant to hit kind of the masses, right? So the commercial was they had this fine dining guy come, and it was like he gave these like little hors d'oeuvres, and he's like, here is your hors d'oeuvre. And Dave, it was Dave Thomas, whatever his name was, the guy that did Wendy's, right? Seems like a good guy, but the point is he's sitting there, and he's looking at this thing, and he goes, this isn't gonna fill me up. This is ridiculous. Get rid of it. I want a burger. Goes and gets a burger, right? Now, the truth is, going to a beautiful restaurant where you paid $500 to eat there and getting like all these different little small tasting menus is actually a heck of an experience. It's actually pretty cool. You should do it sometime. Save up a little cash, go do it. It's actually really fun. Probably not the healthiest thing to do, but you could do it once in a while, right? But why as an advertising position did Wendy's do this thing where they laugh off the rich people with their little stupid hors d'oeuvres? Why'd they do that? The average person in the masses doesn't have the focus, time, or energy to make enough money to spend, $200 or $300 something on a tasting menu meal. That'd be their rent money or something like that back then. So that, at least where I came from. So that being the case, he's gonna feed them to what their desires are. He's gonna tell them, he's gonna give them a story that goes with what makes sense to them. What I would ask you when you hear, and it's not even necessarily wrong. It actually kind of makes sense. I mean, you could sort of see where he's coming from. But the point that I'm making is this. When you see a $3,500 a month apartment, or you see a $200 meal, and you look at that, or maybe you heard that I spent $1,200 on some ginseng or something like that. One thing that I would encourage you to do is don't be afraid of just saying, that's pretty cool that you did that, and someday I'm gonna do that. But here's the thing, right? Like, I think that in money making, for example, everybody has a phase they should go through. I think that buying like a really fancy watch or piece of jewelry is completely ridiculous. I don't think you need to do it. But I still would recommend to any of you to make it a goal, even though it's utterly ridiculous and useless, basically. It's useless because, let's be honest, a Rolex watch is not even as good as what's in your iPhone, right? From a practicality standpoint. What would be a good thing about making enough money that you could buy a $10,000 watch? Why would that be a good thing? I gotta be real with you. I've worn those watches before. They're completely useless as far as status. But what would be a reason why? Doesn't do anything for my confidence.
Set a goal and you just
Do you want to know what gives me a lot of confidence? When I dress ridiculous. Because I'm dressed so ridiculous, everybody starts laughing, and then we have a ball. So it's not any of that stuff. The reason why is because what would happen if you were to say, you know what? See, okay, here's what it is. When you're doing this thing where you see that Rolex watch, by the way, I wouldn't even wear a Rolex if you gave it to me. You want to know why? To me, it's just too much generic rich guy, lack of creativity. But other people, I think it's a good fit. I've seen it on buddies of mine. Max has a Rolex, Derek has a Rolex. I think it's a great fit for them because it's like they're very kind of entrepreneurial, so it suits them. It's like the perfect thing for them to wear. It's not about the watch though. What it is, it's resisting that narrative that's going to hold back your life in other areas. It's rather than saying, oh, that thing is stupid, say, cool, well, I'm on my professional journey. I'll grab one of those someday. And like, if a Rolex watch only costs $10, would you be open to buying it? $10. You could get to a point where that is 10,000 is $10 to you. You could get to that point. And then it's just one of these silly things you check off the list and forget about it. So that was something that helped me. It actually helped me. It's like, don't fall, like, you know, the biggest one is they call someone a douche. That person's a douche. And maybe the person is a douche, but what is the douche thing? That's a narrative that people make up to write off people that are maybe popular or that are ballin'. And that's fine. A lot of those people are completely ridiculous. But the problem with it is then you're also unconsciously doing what? You're sabotaging your chances of doing it. What's the main narrative about people, say, learning our type of content, like social skills? What's the main narrative in society about that? Oh yeah, it's really great that they're working on their social skills. No, it's just, they just say creepy. It's just a narrative that works for them and their needs and what they want. They just made up that narrative and it's hard to break them out of it. The problem is those same people, who knows what they're doing in their spare time? Who knows what weird websites they're going to? They're more creepy than the person learning this. At least the person learning social skills taking ownership of their dating life. But the narrative that other person have will be a false narrative. So my recommendation to you is don't fall into narratives that are gonna limit you. It's not about the Rolex or the fish or the ginseng. It's about saying to yourself, it's not about, that stuff doesn't even matter at all. Not even 1% does that stuff matter. What's important is that you're not falling into a set of beliefs that are coping-based beliefs. Whatever it is that I see, I don't care what it is, I never have the thought I couldn't get that, I couldn't do that, unless some crazy athletic feat that is just not, I just genetically couldn't do it, like some kind of long jump thing or something, right, or playing the NBA. But barring that it's something like that, I don't succumb into these limited beliefs, okay? Now, I'm not gonna waste my life away trying to become, you know, the next American Idol or something like that. I'm not gonna do that either. I'm gonna do it within a frame of reasonability. But don't fall into those mental lane, those brain lane traps. Instead, here's what you wanna do. You wanna move into thriving. What that means is that you've gotta begin to believe. You know, like Neo in the Matrix, he's starting to believe. You've gotta begin to believe in your potential. Then, like, if I drink this, I'd be very curious what this does to my brain. But you wanna know what I would guess? It probably makes it 0.001% better in some way. And if I keep stacking those things up, my focus is gonna increase, my ability to read the play is gonna increase, my life's gonna get better. I've gotta believe in myself. But then what I've gotta do is avoid doing anything that harms your brain. That's my best advice to you. You don't understand the consequences of doing things that's harming your brain with food, stress, substances, all that kind of stuff. Here's why, lack of sleep. Here's why. When you harm your brain, you're unconsciously, you're gonna know that you can't achieve these higher goals, and then your brain is gonna begin producing these weird narratives that are wrong. You're gonna have all these weird RAS flips that are wrong. Once you go into coping, it's like defense versus growth. Something like 90 or 95 or whatever percent of people are in coping. When you meet people in personal development that are really thriving, it is trippy. It is really weird and trippy to meet people that are into self-development and see them with steady eyes, energy, ability to pay attention, state control, mood control, social skills. Why does the social skills come to you easily when you're in thriving? because you're out of your own head and you're out of the haze, and then you can read people more easily and understand what works and what doesn't and put yourself into their shoes because you're not just coping with your own trauma and getting through the day. So this shift that we're talking about here is going to be the difference between basically an inauthentic life where you're operating as a battery for capitalism. And I think capitalism is amazing, by the way, but you're literally operating as a battery for capitalism. Because unfortunately, capitalism without real education can become a problem. I just believe people should be educated in the effects of it. You know, the invisible hand is amazing, but you got to educate people in the effects of it. Like, you're going to be offered stuff that's going to tempt you. Do you understand? You're going to be offered things that give you the path of least resistance. And in low moments, you're going to take those things, and they're going to move you in directions that aren't serving you. So you've got to be auditing that. That's what a coach is for. That's what a mastermind group. You guys should be forming mastermind groups here today, is what a mastermind group is for. You want to be around people that have a higher standard. You know what's funny? When I hang out with friends of mine that are operating at a really high level, I don't ask them questions about that area they're operating at a high level. You want to know what's funny? Just being around them, I find inspiring. It changes your standards. The two main things that you should get out of a friendship with somebody at a high level, now if you're paying them, you should drill them for questions because you're paying them and that's an exchange. But if you happen to luck out and make friends with somebody operating at a high level with high standards, here's what you get out of it. One is you get what you'd almost call like a high vibration frequency from them. You get kind of a mental transmission, right? Anything positive I've ever transmitted to you is actually in many ways attributed to mentors I've had, friends that I've had, and that vibe that they gave to me, women I've been with, and then I put that, even my kids, and then that goes into you guys. Also, the other thing is inspiration. When I just hang out with friends of mine that are operating at a high level business-wise, just being around them, just being in their presence, I don't need to ask them questions. Again, if I'm not paying them, if I'm paying them, they have to do a fair exchange. But if I'm not paying them, now, and by the way, here's the other thing. I want to pay them. It actually annoys me that mentors of mine that are operating at a high level don't have a course. I'm like, as much as I love the inspiration and whatnot, like I'd love it if you did a course so I could just pick your brain relentlessly and harass you. That would be awesome. But if you're friends with somebody, you can't do that and they'll distance themselves from you. So, but point being, since many of my friends operating at a higher level don't have a course and I can't just plunk the money and totally leech them for information. That being the case, right, you can get little tidbits here or there, but you got to kind of wait for them to offer it. That being the case, you can also, I could talk about this later, you can kind of trick them into offering it also. You can get them a little bit kind of shaky and then the floodgates open. We can talk about it later. But anyway, so the point is, regardless, I used to do that because I did that to my mentor Mystery. Right, I could always get Mystery to give me like free boot camps. It was like the easiest thing in the world. I basically just made friends with one of his friends, and then I'd pretend that I didn't want him to teach me anything, and then he'd get insecure that I wasn't wanting anything, and then he would start dumping information. I'd be like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, whatever. You know, I'd be doing. I've told Mystery this like all the time. He laughs. He thinks it's funny. So anyway, you could probably do that to me too. So there you go. Anyway, so point being is like, basically what you have is you want to get inspiration from people just that there's a higher standard. The problem is, and this is a major, major problem in society, the standards are very low. Very, very, very low standards. What I actually believe about myself is that I even have low standards. I believe that what's basically happened is that society's standards is so low that I can't escape the gravity of it no matter how hard I try. I actually believe I believe that our standards as a society are so utterly low that even with all the effort that I have, if I lived in a different society where standards were just naturally higher, I would literally be way higher than I am now, and with barely even working on it. Here's how I know that too. I remember I was in Nepali Coast doing hiking, and I did Nepali Coast the first time by myself, and it was so exhausting, I literally thought I was gonna just keel over the entire time I hiked it. Who here's ever been to Nepali Coast? Anybody here? Okay, you been? Cool. So, Nepali Coast. Did you go because of me, or did you just know about it?
I happened to go on a trip over spring break, and I thought it was going to be like volleyball and hanging out on the beach.
Yeah.
And I just got wrapped into this hike. It was like 8 days in.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Amazing, right? So pretty tough hike, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, especially the pack. That's what gets you is the pack. Yeah, the pack is, if you didn't have the pack, man.
All on your back, or you're going in and out of those.
Yeah. If you didn't have that pack, but even without the pack, it'd be tough. But with the pack, it just kills you. So, point being, I did it by myself, and literally, it wasn't by myself. It was like one other person, but it was basically the mom of my kids, and so it wasn't like a big group of like warriors, you know? And so she's quite the warrior, but it's still just one person. And I got to be the leader in that situation. So I told all my friends about it, a bunch of the guys I instruct with actually. And I told them all about it all year, how tough it was, how tough it was, how tough it was. But I went with all of them, and it was almost like, you know, when Vikings are like, heave, ho, it was weird. It just put me in a different trance. I burned through that hike, and everybody was like, Owen said it's going to be so hard. And it was tough, but it wasn't as hard as Owen said. And I'm like, no, it was hard. Why was it so hard? Because it's the standard that you're operating at. I was with a bunch of people that were younger than me, that were in better shape than me. So I didn't have a choice. So I naturally kept up. What happens when you get around people with better standards is you will tend to keep up with their pacing. You'll tend to elevate to their level. So at a higher level, what you wind up doing once you start making good money is you literally pay the best mentors in the world to just give you whatever you need. But when you're newer, you're not gonna have the resources to do that. Then what you do instead is you get mastermind groups with your friends, or you do less expensive coachings. That's my experience of it. But you've got to get around people that have a different set of standards, or you will fall back into it so incredibly quick, because you don't have those accountabilities on you, and without accountability, you're pretty much screwed. So really what you're doing, and what I'm really describing here, funny enough, if you really think about it, I'm basically describing a reality where human nature, it's almost like trying to cup water in your hands, you know? It's so like, Basically, human beings like a bunch of cells, completely delusional and rationalizing, very self-serving and self-interested, and rationalizing all this weird self-serving stuff that actually in many ways is even self-destructive. And then we're piled up with all these different things that are running us, and there is so much that's running you. That is why you'll probably never see me hate somebody. I mean, barring a really bad case. You wanna know why? I don't look at a person as a person. I look at a person as a collection of influences, chemicals running in their body, weird energies that are speaking into their ears without them knowing it, their paradigm they're in. I look at it as someone who's a really kind of crappy person, and you know what I think? I see raw potential. But what it means to be a great coach in personal development is you've got to begin to trigger those people to see things in a different way. So do you remember earlier when I said that, you know, maybe, and again, I can't speak for him, but I said somebody like Anthony Robbins, when he's doing an event, like say it was, you know, UPW, something like that, he's actually seeing it like he's speaking to a group of kids, in my view. He could have a completely different opinion. He could share his opinion, but that's the impression that I get. What a real self-help coach is doing is they're actually trying to go into your mind under the hood a little bit, and they're trying to rearrange things a little bit and move things to where instead of you having to hustle through everything, you're almost being pulled there like a magnet. That's something Tony would say. You're being pulled there like a magnet. Because when you align these different things in yourself, a lot of this stuff becomes very, very easy. Is there anything in your life that you just do really, really, really easily? It's not a hard thing to do, but for other people it would be hard. That's because that particular area you're aligned. Is there anybody here who uses the gym where it would actually be harder not to go to the gym than it would be to go to the gym? That simple effect, 'cause I've had that when I've been good in the gym. Like you skip the gym that day and you're kind of like freaking out. You know, you're like, I'm supposed to be at the gym, right? It becomes easy. You can actually build a lot of your life like that. You can build your life where it's easy to pick the right food. You can build your life where it's easy to go and approach people and work on your social skills. You can build a life where it's easy to stay calm in your relationships and not sabotage your relationships. You can create it where it's easy to pick up books and read and educate yourself. You can get to a point where, like right now for most of you, say something like meditation. Who has ever tried meditation? Put your hand up. For most of you guys doing meditation, let me ask you a question. Are you at a point where you'll tell yourself you're gonna meditate today, and you put it off and put it off and put it off, and then you go day after day after day without doing it, and then finally you hit a point where you start getting in a bad mood because you stop meditating, arguably, could be a factor, right? And then what happens is that I've had it myself where I literally will say, I'm not going to bed until I meditate. I've had this. I'm not going to bed until I meditate. And then I'll stay up 2-3 hours too late, and then I'm like, man, I can't even meditate now because I'm just gonna pass out if I try to meditate in my chair. I might as well just go to bed at this point. So then the next day I'm like, I'm gonna meditate today. And on that day what happens is I literally wind up staying awake for 24 hours. I'm like, I'm not going to bed till I meditate. And then when I finally do it, when I finally do the meditation, this silly little 20 minutes of breathing meditation, whoa, right? I sit there and I love it. I begin to wake up. And I'm thinking, what? This last day that I've been awake was like this weird dream. If you're an avid meditator, you'll notice that. It's like your life outside meditation feels like this creepy kind of weird dream. I don't know if creepy is the right word, but you know my point? Kind of awkward dream. And meditation is like more than real reality. So that's a way of thinking about it. So what you'll see is basically that you're procrastinating. Now, why is that? Here's why. It's because you're not ready to enter into a better reality. You're not spiritually ready to enter into a better reality. You're not ready to enter into a reality where things are easier. You're stuck in a reality where things are very, very hard. And you're not ready to let that go. So why is it that you need to get people around you to give you the right influence? Because those people will force you. They're going to force you. All the top people do this. You create groups here, or get coaches or mentors or mastermind groups where first of all, you need to get people that are fired up. People that have what's called skin in the game. Say the word skin in the game. Okay, you need people that are fired up. Take this event right here, right? Now, how packed out was this event at the start on Thursday? What is it at now? I knew that going in. I knew that if we're doing a free event, that I was screwing over the clients. I'm going to screw over at least half the clients. You know why? By not giving them the ability to maybe plunk down $30 or something, because I made it free, because I just want to for my selfish interest. Like, do you understand it? Do you guys actually get that I made this free for me? It was selfish. I wanted to do this for free so I could workshop some new content and to get done some dating stuff. But when I made it free, I wasn't thinking I was doing a favor to anybody who was coming. They're not going to be able to pay as close attention. Most of them are going to bail out by the third day. I already knew that going into it. I felt bad for them. It sounds crazy, but it's true.
I get it.
I legitimately, because I robbed them of the ability to give something so that they could receive more easily. You'll see it. Without skin in the game, it's very hard to focus. Your mind, your RAS won't lock in and engage on that topic. It's really crazy stuff. But I just wanted to do a little bit of new content. And I want to wrap some dating stuff, which I'll do after our break. So, very quickly, yeah. Loud.
For the guys who are not going, it is like not the money, because it's then the reason that it's so important to them, or why?
So here's why, right? So say that you're living your life, okay? And let me give an example. Take Disney World. There's so many people that will fly into LA, and they've got to go see Disney World, the Getty, the Griffith, all that kind of stuff, right? Malibu. But when you live in LA, a lot of people that live here have never been to Disney World. You ever been to Molokai? Okay, pretty cool island too. There's only 2 tourist attractions on Molokai that I can remember. One of them is the biggest sea cliffs in the world, tallest sea cliffs in the world, that's what they say. The other is called the Phallic Rock. It's a rock shaped like a hard dick. And both are awesome, okay? They're equally awesome. I mean, the cliffs is more awesome, but the rock is like, is also quite awesome. So it's like a natural rock that's just like a big hard cock. It's hilarious. I'm like on top of it in pictures and shit. It's awesome. So what you have is, now you go to people in Molokai and you say, where's the sea cliffs? They're like, I think it's over that way. No, there's 5,000 people there. There's nothing to do there. Have you ever been to the sea cliffs? No. Are you kidding? There's nothing to do here. Like, you don't want to be rude, but that's what you're thinking, right? Like, there's nothing to do. Like, how could you have not been to the sea cliffs? Because they can go anytime and they have no skin in the game. There's no sense of urgency there. With no sense of urgency, you'll put stuff off indefinitely. That's one of my biggest fear. When you don't study self-help, your life will literally pass you by. You can literally have your entire life go by in this haze where you have all these dreams and visions of things that you're going to do, and you just never get around to it. So here's what happens, right? For the guys who I made the event free. So I knew, I told my staff, I go, book a big room, but expect the fact that, on Instagram stories, how the first days, or the first Instagram story is a lot, second one's less, third one's less. Yeah. I'm like, expect the free event that we're doing here this weekend to look like that. I'm like, it'll be a packed room, right? The room was packed to the back. The next day it'll be less, the next day it'll be less, and tomorrow it will be less. And the reason why is because that person sitting at home, they didn't pay anything for it, and they're like, well, I got stuff to do. I saw that one other day. That was pretty good. They're not even going to be able to implement most of what they learned because they didn't pay, ironically. Because they didn't pay anything for it. So there's no sense of urgency. What money does is an energetic attachment. It's like couples that are intimate. Do you want to know what the purpose of the intimacy is in a relationship? It's to put skin in the game. That's all that sex is. You know that, right? All that sex is something that builds what Stephen Covey calls the emotional bank account, and it puts skin in the game so that when you get in a fight, you're willing to work it out. I had a girl that I was dating, best personality of any girl you've ever met. Some of you guys have met her in this room. But her sex life just wasn't good. And for that reason, she annoyed me one little bit, and I wound up breaking up with her. Why? Because now, what if she'd been banging my brains out? I would have been like, I want to work through this, baby. But the sex wasn't good enough. So because of that, there wasn't enough skin in the game for me. There wasn't enough reason to fix it. I didn't have the engagement to fix it. What sex does is it makes couples work it out. It's creating skin in the game. So you've got to be putting things in front of yourself that makes skin in the game. For those of you guys that are, say, taking Transformation Master with Julian, a bunch of you guys signed up for TM with Julian. Guess what? You'll be 100 times more likely to actually follow through on trauma release. Here's how it happens. Just like the guy that could come to this event, but then he just gets busy that day. You think with something like freaking trauma release, you're not going to put that off? How about resonator, vocal work? Look, if I can put off this, which is a real health threat, how easily can you put off getting your vocal tone, posture, body language, and all that down? Do you know how easy it is to rationalize not dealing with that for one more day, and one more day, and one more day, and one more day? Do you know how easy it is to rationalize not releasing trauma for one more day, and one more day, let alone with that meditation effect that we talked about, where you're not even ready to let it go? But here's what's funny. For you guys that took TM with Julian, because you've got a bit of skin in the game, you're going to be like, damn, I took this course, I signed up, I had the intention, I've got a group of people here, I threw down a couple bucks, not even a lot, but it's enough to motivate you. You're going to get it. And that's why every single day I meet people on the street saying, I took TM with Julian, and that thing was amazing, and my life changed, and da 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 da. But it's like, I understand this can become a metaphor, just like buy RSD product or whatever. It's not meant to be that, even though probably a bit of that too. What I'm trying to get at you is that you've got to be putting skin in the game in front of yourself in every area of your life. You've got to create those RAS flips. You've got to have that brain and lane thing going for you. You've got to be continually reinforcing that you can be successful. You can live your dreams. You can accomplish the goals that you want. That it will be cool. That you will get stuff out of it. That you can make it happen. And you got to do that again and again and again and again and again. And then you've got to invest in yourself. And then you've got to do those little things that make 0.1% of a difference to make your life better. And you've got to stack them. When you guys see me doing public speaking, like take yesterday, like that speech that you guys saw yesterday, do you understand how many layers is in that? How many levels do you think was in that speech yesterday? That wasn't just the content you're seeing. You're getting hit on 50 different levels in that. I didn't learn to be able to do something like that overnight. That was me getting out there, recording a video, editing the video, looking at the video, getting coaches and mentors and friends to look at the video, getting feedback on the video, looking at the way I was communicating, looking at the way that I put it together, and so on and so forth. As we move into personal development, like look what I'm doing here. This is me, probably no different than, say, a stand-up comedian workshopping new content, right? If you were to look at this content in, say, 6 months from now, the iterative process to it, it would be like the same content you'll see here, but very well packaged, hard-hitting, and sort of drawn out and showing you each level, right? When I do a product, you know, like a hot seat at home or Blueprint Decoded, that product was an iterative process of me doing that again and again and again. If I do a boot camp, the specific exercise that I do in the order that I do them in, that was an iterative process. But that process is not done overnight. I go do this one event, and I will get 1% better at talking about self-help concepts. Now, if I go do these once a week for a year, by teaching maybe not just to big groups, but in private and whatnot, now after a year, I'm 50% better. If I go do that for 5 years, Now I'm 250% better. And what that means, now I dominate the competition. That means I can pack out rooms. That means that I can actually make money from it, which means that then I can reinvest into coaches and health things and all that kind of stuff. I have more time to read. I'm more motivated to read because I believe in myself. I believe that if I read more and study more and do more and work more, that it's gonna pay off. So in that movie, The Matrix, when he says, Neo is starting to believe, you've gotta start to believe. But it's not just so you can make more money. The money is the least of it. It's literally so that you can wake up. It's so that you can wake up out of a derp state and begin to understand the life that's actually in front of you. Because you may not even understand the life that you're living right now. You're literally in this fake dream world that I can't even poke on too much. Because if I poke on it too much, you're gonna freak out.
How's the mental process of you visualizing like the greater benefits of like stacking the sacrifice? Like while you're stacking.
When I look at you, you know what I see? I'm gonna be real. You have derpy eyes. I'm just gonna be real. You look like you're in a haze. I know because I used to look like that. You're thinking out of sequence to what's being taught, so you're in coping needing your exact thing. You're also not standing up and sharing to the group. Like, just watch this, okay? Just stand up. And I want you to open your eyes a little wider. Wake up. Wake up. Say it back to me, just like how I said it.
Wake up!
Now, when I say it, do you believe I'm awake? When I say, I'm awake, look at Deb and say you're awake.
I'm awake!
Can you guys see the difference a bit? It's subtle. Now, I'm a public speaker. That's not a fair comparison, right? I could be more asleep than him, and just because I'm a speaker, I'd look more. But what I'm saying is, I can see it in your eyes. So a big thing that I do is I get myself to become more present every day by a small amount. And now, here's what I want to explain to you, okay? Have a seat for a second. What I want to explain to you is this. If you're less present than me, you will see me and you will have this impression like I'm some kind of wizard. That's what it's going to look like to you. I'm not at all, but it's going to look like that to you. When I would look at teachers of mine back in the day, I would literally think these people are wizards, like some kind of god. They're enlightened. I am so far away from being enlightened or a wizard, although I'm balding and have a beard, so I'm presenting myself in a wizardly manner to some extent. But you'll see everything from my wordplay to my cadence to my energy to how I move to how I teach to how I think, and you're gonna see that and you're gonna go, wow. But you've got to understand that in the world that I'm coming from, I'm probably on the lower end of the intelligence level. Or there's people that are way happier than me, or that think more clearly than me, or smarter than me. So who are you hanging out with? Who are you around? It'll seem that way from the space that you're in. So you've got to understand, like, I view myself as kind of like, maybe like a low-level intermediate teacher. I'm arrogant about where I'm at compared to other people because I think almost everybody sucks. But for the most part of what I think is possible, I think that I'm at low-level intermediate. So in my version of reality, how many years do I plan to teach for?
Forever.
Probably forever, right? Now, because I teach real stuff, you know, I may be more public at times. When you teach real stuff, you're probably gonna have phases where you're not allowed to teach anymore, right? They're gonna pull your platform from you. And I may go through periods like that too. But the point being is that I'll be teaching my whole life, right? So if I look at myself as a teacher at say 25, at say 35, at say 45, I'm just stacking up those different little 1% things over and over and over and over, okay? Over and again and again and again and again. Now, why am I doing this? What is my motivation for doing this? What the heck am I doing? Am I trying to make more money to be an entrepreneurial success? Like, why am I doing this? For my kid, no.
Purpose.
My kids just want me to play video games. Why?
Purpose to give you like meaning.
Yeah. My kids are here. I could ask them what they think of this. Okay. So, okay, my purpose, whatever. It's not, you have to understand something. It's a very subjective thing. It's, okay, even things like I'm on my purpose, that's a great thing, but you know what? Even that has a limitation. End of the day, even if I was the best teacher ever, what does it matter if, when I'm dead, how long do you think my YouTube videos will be popular after I'm dead? There'll be a small niche of people that still follow. It's like Osho or something, you know? There's a small little niche of people. Mostly people will watch whatever is current. You guys are more likely to have read, say, Tim Ferriss, who is awesome. I love Tim. He's awesome, but you're more likely to have read Tim Ferriss than you are to have read, say, Freud or something like that, right? I've actually never read Freud myself, so, and I have read Tim, so I'm just like that too. Sigmund Freud. You're more likely to have read, Seth Godin than Dostoevsky or, whatever, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that, I can do all, I can make the money and ball out, blah, blah, all that. It's not about that. It's a waking up process. It's a very subjective thing. It's a very inner experience-based thing. You do this kind of work because you want to change your inner experience. It's also because you understand the alternative is so disgusting. The alternative is to stay in a derp state pretty much indefinitely. And the problem is, in life, if you're not growing, you're dying. I never used to understand that expression. I do now. If you're not growing, you're dying. So it's not like you get to just stay in the same way and experience the comfort. What begins to happen is you actually start to become more uncomfortable. So you're better off to embrace these things that seem a little bit difficult, because in reality, you'll actually have a better subjective experience. Now, when I say that, how many people really flesh this out and audit it? How many people that you know who don't do this kind of thing have these awesome lives? Do you even know anybody that has a good life? Do you know anybody who just has like a pretty easy, fun life? And if you do, how many people are there? So do you think that's gonna really happen for you? Just all your ducks are gonna get in a row, man. It's all gonna happen, bro. And then you'll be happy when. So that's what I began to understand, is that what we've been sold as happiness is a myth. What we've been sold as who you are as a person is a myth. What you've been sold as your purpose for being alive is a myth. That's what I was talking about earlier about the pros and cons of capitalism. In many ways, the marketing in capitalism has actually created a lot. I'm pro-capitalism, but I think that it's like I'm pro-car, but I'm pro-driver's ed. I'm pro-capitalism, but I think that people need to understand the bombardment of consumer culture and marketing and misbeliefs that they're going to be having rammed down their throat. Because look, if you don't agree with that and you're like, no, I just think that people should work for free and, just give away all their money. Well, then you go do it. You give away all your money and work for free. So I'm not suggesting that. I'm not saying down with the business or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that you've got to be aware of what impact it's having on you. Again, you're being sold a fake narrative about what a good life is that you're not going to get. See, at least if you're going to accomplish it, at least if you were going to get that life, then I could go with it. But you're not even going to get it. Lay this out. Is there really a reality that happens where all your ducks get in a row and life is just really easy and you just sit there and you're just a simpleton, you're just like, Even if you get the perfect partner, they're going to age, you're going to age, friends are going to pass away, disease is going to set in, entropy is going to set in. You build a business, some weird regulation gets put on it. Your good friend stabs you in the back. You got a great partner, that doesn't pan out, they cheat or whatever at some point. So what are you going to do? You're going to do what most people do and you go, yeah, people cheat. People are cheaters. You know what I got out of that? If people cheat, here's what I got out of Owen's seminar. Just never have a partner. Don't work with anybody. People are scum. We're all going to die anyway. Why do anything? Is that what you get out of it? No. See, that only makes sense within the false narrative that you were sold. The false narrative that you're sold, which is like, well, you could get leisure and the 2.5 kids in the house, when you see that that's fake, you're like, oh, I can't get that. People just want to give up completely. That's not the answer. The answer isn't to give up completely. The answer is you need to begin to see that there's other ways of doing things. There's other focuses. Imagine something like a samurai culture where you would grow up and you were put into being a samurai. And these guys are intense. Like, if they do the wrong thing, they'll fall on their sword. Does that feel weird to you to think this idea of falling on your own sword for honor? Take Viking culture, where they believed, my understanding from watching the show Vikings, is they would believe, that's where I'm getting this information, where they would believe that basically what would happen is they would that their fate is already written, and for that reason, when they go into battle, they go full out. Why do they go full out when they're going to battle? With no fear. Because they already think that they think they're gonna go to Valhalla after, but also they believe that their fate's already written, so why hold back? That's a very different way of living. I'm not suggesting either of those ways of living at all, but it shows that there's different cultures and there are different ways of living. So what would be a way of living that you could begin to shift into that would allow you to see things a little bit differently? One of them, what I would suggest, is that you can begin to realize that this whole idea of getting this perfectly painted, socially conditioned life is a lie. And that doesn't mean there's not a couple cases of it. Like maybe you turn out to be Ryan Seacrest in your next life. But then again, who knows what Ryan Seacrest is even dealing with, right? Another one to realize is stop this thing of I'll be happy when. Another thing is learn to understand what forces are running you, what effects these forces are having on you. Learn to control your own energy. Maybe rather than thinking I want to get a Rolex watch, have thoughts like I want to learn to control my own state. Maybe rather than thinking I want to do business to have all this money, when that's probably not going to make you happy anyway past a certain point, you think I want to do business to learn more about myself, more about human nature, I want to challenge myself, I want to become stronger, I want to grow. That could be a profession or business, either one. Maybe you think I want to drink that green juice because I like the buzz it makes in my head of calm presence rather than just the taste. Maybe you learn to change your palate to like the taste of present high vibration energy more than a physical sensation. Maybe in social skills, you learn to embrace the journey of building those social skills and realizing that it's going to happen when it's meant to happen, and your job is to focus on the process, and you can shift to enjoying the process. And these are shifts in thinking that in this room, when I'm talking to you, are very, very easy to have. But when you're on your own and not in a group thinking about it, are very, very hard to keep up because your friends are sucking you back into it. Video games, news media, all that kind of stuff is sucking you back into it. It's taking you out of a collaborative frame, putting you into a competitive frame, the little me against everybody else, and making you a great consumer, making you lose empathy, putting you in a coping state, and making you a perfect little battery. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the biggest fear that I have with something like this, honestly, is that your life passes you by. Who here is 40 or up? Put your hands up. 40 or up. Let me ask you guys a question that are 40 and up. How fast did it all blow by? What would you share? Stand up and share with the younger guys here how quick this whole journey just goes by. Stand up and share. Anybody wants to share? How quick does this journey go by? What would you say to these younger people?
Life goes by in an instant. 46 right now, and it just flew by.
And one question about that too. So you're 46. You don't want to die, right?
I don't want to die.
I don't want to die either, right? Now, who here is, say, 22? Or, okay, so you're 22. When you see, because I used to have thoughts like this. For you at 22, and I'll get an answer from you in a second. From you at 22, when you see that he's 46, he is 24 years closer to dying of old age than you are, right? But, you know, anything can happen. We know that, but older, right? So is that weird to think? When you look at an older person, like say who's 70, is it weird to think, like, what would that be like to know that you could die at any moment if you're older, right? You're 22, you have your whole life ahead of you, right? Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
Is it weird to think that he's 46 and closer to his death if he was to die of old age and you're to die of old age around the same time?
Crazy.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel any less, do you want to die less now than you did at, say, 22?
No, not at all.
It's the same thing, right?
Yes.
So I'm in my mental movie, you're in your mental movie. How fast did from 22 to this age now go by?
Live in the present. It's just a snap of the finger.
Okay? It's just like that. Do you have any thoughts on this too? I might get a bit more from you.
I like to look at it like, when I was 19, I was on the East Coast, and by the time I made it to the West Coast, I'm 52.
Okay.
51.
Great.
Yeah.
So it goes quick.
Yeah.
And what would you say to the younger people here about how quick life goes by? And also, and not to be negative, but how quick it can kind of get away from you if you're not careful.
Well, I think it's if you have a proactive life, it goes by very quickly. If you're a negative Nancy, it's a day could last 10 days.
Got it. Okay. I like that theory too. But do you see the point that I was making about, like, how old are you?
51.
Okay, so I'm 39. And where'd the time go? Like, what happened? Like, in the same way I had a mental movie of when I was 3 or 5 or 8, I have the mental movie of me sitting here now. But the time just goes. Now, when you look at your friends or you look at your friends, Are most of them very happy at this age?
Of all my friends that I have around, my best friend and his wife and his kids seem to have a pretty decent life. The rest of them seem pretty miserable.
Yeah. Crazy, right? And that's the default. How about you seem like an interesting fellow, so you might have some more interesting friends, but what's your thoughts?
I travel whenever I want, do whatever I want, and they feel like they're like in prison for their own setup that they've set up for themselves, and so they're like jealous of me. Even though they have more money, more responsibilities, they look at me and says, wow.
That's awesome. Well, could you give these guys a hand for sharing that, by the way? Do you want to share anything, too? Okay. Pop up here. Any words of wisdom for anybody in their early 20s or anything?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things I've noticed is that in my 20s, a lot of things happened that seemed like they took forever and seemed, now in hindsight, 20 years ago, they happened very quickly. And time, for me, is accelerating.
Yeah, me too.
And history is shrinking. And the big challenge that I have right now is not getting lost as things speed up. And more and more in the past couple of years, I've been noticing that there's an urgency that I wish I had when I was in my 20s to do the right things, to do the right things, to pay attention to stuff that actually matters. And what is left in my memories is more the stuff I didn't do, more the chances I didn't take, rather than any mistakes that I've made. Like, for so long, I've held on to all these stories about why this stupid thing that I did mattered, and more, it just doesn't. What matters is what went right, usually because I did something that I had resistance to, and you have to do it right now. You have to eat better now, because otherwise you stop eating right, you end up with
it has its own momentum.
Everything, yeah.
There's never that day that you're just going to stop without an intervention.
Yeah, exactly. But you just have to do it right now. You have to move now. You have to start going towards what you want.
How happy are your friends?
Most of them are miserable. So,
that's the default. That's how you wind up.
Yep. The derp state is real. I mean, like finding
the derp is real, boys.
and it just goes.
Awesome.
How do you handle? You said that like you're getting older, everything's getting faster. How do you stop and smell the roses or something how do you stay present or not get lost, so to speak?
Every day I make more of an effort to do the stuff that I already know I should be doing.
That's the best answer.
You haven't told me anything this weekend that I didn't already fucking know.
Sorry.
Been a great reminder.
Thank you.
Hanging out here for you with a couple of days has been such a good reminder of a whole bunch of stuff that I've already known, and it's been an incentive for me to fucking step up and start doing it again.
Well, that's part of the culture, right? We're creating a culture here where this is normal, and we're raising our standards. And it's a weird thing, but when people start raising the standard, it's in one level it's painful, but on another level it actually feels freeing. You're like, whoa, I can let go of this crap. I can finally wake up and have a better standard. It's a weird feeling. It's like, you ever have a breakup where you knew that you shouldn't have stayed with that person that long, but you're also afraid to leave and maybe the intimacy was good? And then you leave and you're like, oh, this sucks. And yet you feel awake, like you're out of some weird dream, some weird quirky dream. And you're like, I wish I would have just done this a year ago. Who here has ever had that experience? That's what he's talking about here. It's where you're in these little weird, quirky dream states, and you got to kind of shake yourself out of them. But you got to get around people that have higher standards and that are going to shake you out of it, and that are going to keep putting you in the back, putting you back in the right direction and putting you in check. And without it, again, that brain versus lane thing kicks in. You start rationalizing. You have reticular activation flips, and the problem is once you start going down the wrong path too much, and your dopamine structure and the way your brain works gets to a point where you're getting good feelings off of wrong beliefs, and then you're stacking wrong belief on top of wrong belief on top of wrong belief, and then it becomes like Christmas tree wires that are all messed up, and it's going to take a big surgery to fix it. Most people will never come back from that. And what you guys are talking about with a lot of your friends have been doing that, where they've been in coping, and then they're coping on top of coping on top of coping, rationalizing on top of rationalizing on top of rationalizing, taking the easy way out, taking path of least resistance. And if you were to try to fix it, man, that's why a lot of those people get triggered so easily. They're snowflakes, right? They get triggered super easy. The reason why is because if you push on it a little bit, it's like, you're pushing on, it's like if you had like a knot in your back that's there to just cope with some muscular imbalance, and I touch it and you're like, ow, 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 you're hurting me. And it's like, yeah, but we gotta press on this to fix it. You're like, no, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Trigger alert. And that's the only way to fix it, is to give somebody real feedback. I mean, to fix many of your friends, do you believe that it's possible? I mean, this, it's a rough thing to say. Do you think they're fixable at this point?
Yes. I sent out, I had Amazon send out 7 copies of the Ultramind solution this morning.
Awesome. Well, I love your optimism. Give me a hand for that. Yep. We'll check back in a year. And I'm going to be honest. Probably very few of them will read it.
Yep.
And I'm being horrible right now, because yay, everyone's going to read the Ultramind solution now and change. Right. So what's going to happen is they're probably not going to read it, or maybe a couple of them will. But I love your autism. Maybe some of them will change.
Yeah, I have high hopes that one friend will read the introduction and talk to me.
Yeah, that, or maybe even one friend reads a bit more, or 1.5 friends. So there's always going to be a few. But do you know what I'm talking about when I say that, to try to stand up for a sec? Share any thoughts you have about what are the chances that your friends would be fixed? Fixed, because we're not even perfect ourselves, but you know my point.
Well, I like surrounding. I don't have that many, but the few friends I have are the ones that are up here and I'm down here. So
got it. So they're open to it.
Yeah.
Got it. How about for yourself and what you were talking about?
Friends that can be fixed?
I mean, look, no one's here to be fixed because I use bad language. I'll work on my language there. But what I mean is that would start unwiring their coping, their rationalization, their derp state, et cetera, et cetera.
No, I wish I could say yes, but a lot of my friends are so far down the rabbit hole right now that I don't think that they would be willing to take the steps to try and get out of their current paradigm.
They don't have the belief that they could. It would be too many. There are too many steps further down that rabbit hole. See, what I believe is that once your face is ground into the dirt by the boot of life too long, I think that person is gone and isn't coming back. Only way they're coming back is with what's called an act of grace, where something so terrible happens, it creates so much leverage that they have what's called a recalcitrant experience, or whatever they call that, and they've got to reconsider everything. And if you hit rock bottom and you are just a broken person, there's nothing left. You've got nothing to hang on to. It just hurts. Everything just hurts. Then that person has a rare opportunity, and one of two things can happen. They go in victim, or they improve. They get bitter or better. Say that, bitter or better. And if they choose to get more bitter, which sadly most people do, that's that. Deal with the devil, and they get bitter, which is a coping back. It's a further coping, a further retraction, deeper down that rabbit hole, and it's harder and harder to crawl your way out. Could you guys give a hand to these guys, by the way? One last thing? Yeah.
Hey, Bay Area Mastermind, if you're interested, find me at the Break Police.
Dope. That'd be dope. Give me a hand for that, too. That's a great point. Great point, actually. So that's the main. So the point that I'm trying to get at here was, in my own life, I tried to work on this myself and also create a culture of people around me who are doing this kind of work. And I really made it a focus, not because I thought, if you look at my life, my last 2 girlfriends were a Miss USA contestant and a 7-time Playboy Playmate or something. You look at that, right? I live in a big fat mansion up in the Hollywood Hills. Some of you guys are coming to it in the event coming up. I travel the world. I hang out with great people. People walk up to me all day telling me I'm great. Stuff like that. Eat in baller restaurants, stay at the best hotels. I do that. So when you guys hear that, I bet in your minds you really believe that provides me with a shred of happiness. Do you remember what I said the other day when I was actually really bad with women and a girl gave me a palm reading and my hand tingled for like 2 days? I probably got more pleasure physically from that than from having sex with like the hottest girl. Because it's very subjective. It's very, very, very subjective, all this. Pleasure is very subjective. It's what you're used to. My life to Justin Bieber would seem terrible. Even if Flay made it a Miss USA contestant, wouldn't be good enough for him probably. My mansion would look like a crap hole compared to what Justin Bieber probably lives in, right? Then again, he might look at my lesser fame and think it was good that he could walk around without being harassed. Who knows what he's thinking? So those things that I'm talking about, you remember I said earlier that half the population can get sex whenever they want, and it doesn't make them instantly happy? So when you see what's on the outside, you would look at what I've built, and you'd think, wow, if I just had that, I'd be happy. That's the marketing that you've been given. Now, say my buddy Ty Lopez. When he does marketing or advertising, he'll use the Lamborghini. He'll show himself out with hot girls. But even Ty understands very, very carefully. He understands at a very high level. I mean, at this point, where's Ty been living lately if you follow Ty Lopez? Lives on a farm. I mean, how ironic is that? He's living on a farm. He's going to the life that most people would escape from to go to the city to try to avoid. And he looks like a little kid in his tractor with his dogs, and he's like loving it, right? So even Ty knows that just having, Lamborghinis are fun, don't get me wrong. Having a big crib is fun, don't get me wrong. But you get used to it over time. It just becomes normal. Your intimate partners, even if they're more attractive, it becomes normal. Better food, it just becomes normal. The first time you eat that perfect steak from Mastro's, it's like an orgasm in your mouth. The 10th time you ate it, you just think that's what steak is now. All that happens is you reacclimate to the better life. You go back to the old one you had and you can't take it anymore. And now you're stuck with this new addiction. You can do it too. That's most of what it is. So again, if that's the case, and even if you get all your ducks in a row, which because I probably to some extent have exaggerated the extent that you can't get all your ducks in a row. Look, even take a guy like Ty, right? He's got a lot of his ducks in a row. You definitely can get a lot more ducks in a row. Just don't wait to be happy for that to happen, because even when it does happen, your whole life is not going to always be in that sweet spot. So what we have to do is we have to go deeper, primarily in my view, for having a more authentic experience of life, a more satisfying experience of life, not necessarily more leisurely, but more satisfying. A life where, even if it's more challenging and we have more abundance, that challenge allows us to grow. You remember I was talking yesterday about the raw potential that you don't even realize you have? In many ways, it's tapping into that raw potential that you don't even know you have. The perks of me being a social media influencer is not about me getting props on the street. It's that knowledge that I have a skill that I worked hard for, and I appreciate that skill because I worked hard to get it. So I have a true appreciation for it. I have a palate for it. Remember what I said about this event here? Where the average person can't even let it land? I'm up here serving everybody else, but who's having the most fun?
You are.
People don't even realize that. It's the do it, but in modern society thinking, it would be all of you having the most fun, right? Think about this. You heard about this, got excited for it, super pumped to be here, but funny enough, in your body, you probably feel pretty similar to how you'd feel sitting on the couch. So if that's the case, the good thing's gonna happen. And you wanna know what's funny? If you got hit by a car and you're in a wheelchair, after the year or two of getting over the loss of mobility, do you wanna know how you'd feel in your head? Probably about like what you feel right now. Because emotions are addictive. We're literally lied to about what emotions even are or what happiness even is.
What are emotions?
We think that emotions come from you get this you get this big house and then every day you're like, oh, I'm in a big house. Bro, you're already getting a free course right now. But are you sitting here like, ah! You probably logically appreciate it and you're like, this is super cool or whatever, but you're not like, ah! You're living in LA. Do you know how many people in the world just to be living here in LA for the first month would be like, it's sunny in the middle of winter. People come from the East Coast, they land here in LAX, they're like, oh, oh, stripping their clothes off. Oh, oh, the nightmare is over. It's February and it's 20 degrees / 70 degrees, depending if Fahrenheit or okay, you know my point, right? Like literally, so you're lied to about what you think will even make you happy. And even if you push to get that perfect life, it just changes your standard anyway. Quick question about this?
Yeah, so what is happiness then?
Well, the biggest thing to get away from this idea that happiness is just straight leisure. Like, ha 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 ha, like that you get tickled. In many ways, like something Tom Brady said, is they're like, do you love playing football? He's like, look, it's my passion. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not. It's like if you're running a 26-mile marathon or something, is that fun? It's satisfying. It's enriching. But marketers don't talk about enrichment very much, do they? Because you can't sell that. It's not something you can bottle and sell. Same thing in the pharmaceutical industry. You guys know the main reason why natural health isn't pushed is because you can't take a blueberry. You can't take a wild blueberry and then sell that as a pharmaceutical because it's a natural product. So that dictates our concept of health. So we've got to understand these things. So what I've kind of wanted to frame with you here is this idea of waking up, okay? My main passions, I'd say in my own area, is inner growth. And that's being at the cause and not the effect of my emotions, but also being able to dictate the emotion out to other people. That's one of my big passions that I really love. State control, becoming more present to the moment, waking up, letting go of trauma, and getting more to the core of what is actually like authentic to me. Understanding more of who I am so that my actions can be merged with integrity and authenticity and moving through the world like that. The ability to take on more challenge and push myself past my limit. That's a big one for me. Inner state, they call that spiritual growth. Another big passion for me is public speaking and creating everything from marketing pieces to content to public speaking. I love talking to people that run businesses and showing them how to do their social media, showing them how to speak into a camera, show them how to speak improvisationally, showing them how to use their voice, use their body language. Another thing I'm very passionate about is relating with other people, social skills, and learning to communicate as somebody of status, but also just general leadership and waking up and learning to be a leader. I also like learning about hard skill sets like marketing itself. I am in love with marketing. I'm in love with it. It's a hard skill set. A lot of people in spiritual growth, they don't like marketing. What I say to them is the single thing that you could do to increase your spiritual growth then is marketing. And I believe it. I really do, because it's outside their comfort zone and it would actually force them to dig deeper within themselves. So I love things like marketing. I love moving energy. I love getting people to wake up. I love camera work. I love editing. I like putting things together, presenting it, and giving it to other people. I like also learning how to have real leisure and really, really, really enjoying myself. These are the things that I really, really enjoy and the things that I'll be focusing on in my self-development content. So, and I'd say the biggest one is also revealing to people potentials they didn't know they had. I truly believe that you have been robbed of your potential, and most people are not aware of the potential that they have. I think it is such a shame the extent to which people are not able to see their real potential. I mean, it is really, truly a sad thing. And I've just looked through the world and I see this kind of trance and dream state that people are in, and it's really unfortunate to see it. But when I see it, it can be a mirror and I put it on myself.